Okay, guys, so this is a video class for week 9, Judas and the Black Messiah. I know that I said that I would do this class in person, but there was an administrative problem which meant that I um, wasn't able to. Fortunately, it's now looking like it's been fixed, so um, yeah, everything's fine, but you have the video class instead, so you can get what I think and what I would have said in the lecture, um, like this. Okay, so we'll go on with it. So, Judas and the Black Messiah, to give you some background, it's a contemporary film. So, it was released in 2021 and it was directed and co written by Shaka King. It's interesting for me, first of all, in the sense that, like I say here, it's the second film to be released within the last, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years, which really aims to depict the time period that it's set in, and specifically to depict African American radicalism within that time period. And the first film that tried to do this was Spike Lee's Black Klansman, which personally I think is an inferior film to Judas and the Black Messiah. But there are ways in which we can compare the two, and we'll just do that a little bit at the bottom. So the film stars Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, Jesse Plemons, and Dominique Fishback. And it tells the story of the betrayal of Fred Hampton, who was the leader of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, who became an increasingly famous historical figure in the years following his assassination by the Chicago Police Department and the FBI. And yeah, the film was viewed at the time that it was released as telling a very important story. The story of Fred Hampton is widely known in some circles, especially scholars of African American history and African American politics. Fred Hampton is an important figure for those individuals, but at the same time, he's not as widely known when it comes to the general public in the US. So the film was widely well received as providing a depiction of Hampton, of the politics that he stood for, and of the brutality which led to his death. At the same time, however, the film was also criticized, and I'll work through some of the possible criticisms of it towards the end of the class. And it was criticized because it chose to tell the story in the same way that Black Klansman chose to tell the story of Black radicalism, by focusing on a figure who in some way is outside of the politics that the film is intending to depict. So in the case of Judas and the Black Messiah, we have a figure, O'Neill, who is an informer, and we see the story of the film through his eyes. And in the case of Black Klansman, we have a figure who's a police officer who becomes close to black radicals as a result of his equivalent involvement with the KKK, with the Ku Klux Klan. And both of these films make a kind of decision which we'll think about more as the class develops, which is to find the interest in the story that they're telling, not necessarily in the politics that it's being depicted, but in the figure of the conflicted individual, the figure of the one who is unsure about whether or not to commit to the world that they're entering. And we'll talk about why that is significant for thinking about Judas and the Black Messiah from a postcolonial perspective.